Thank you, everybody, for joining the Bassfug podcast. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Marco, a.k.a. Custome.
How's it going?
It's going good. I'm not sure what to categorize you as, because you have these sick as fuck D&B tracks on the top of your SoundCloud, but the more you scroll down, you have some EDM, you have some trap flips. Like, what would you classify yourself in terms of like a genre?
I like all genres, honestly. You know, if there's a sound that I hear that I like, I don't try to like copy it, just like incorporate it somehow, you know? Like use it in what I'm currently working on. And sometimes it's just like opening up a project and seeing where it goes. You know, and like if it sounds sick, I'll put it out.
Why the two D&B tracks? Because it's a far departure from what I heard of your earlier music, and they're really good songs, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. The Hate and Glory edit is, I listened to that a shitload of times. It's really good. It's sick. It's really good.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
So, but what made you go towards the drum and bass?
Like it just in Sydney, like it started picking up some traction like a couple of years back, and I always had like a little like some private D&B edits, you know, just like speeding up some tunes like and making some jump up versions of songs, and then like but then, yeah, you know, trap and dub in Sydney, it's like the more like popular genres. But then, yeah, like lots of people started dropping D&B stuff in their sets, and I was like, that's sick, man. Like, I'd love to work with that. And and then like I made some synths a while ago, some sounds, and I never use them, but they just work so well with my D&B tunes, and I was like, okay, well, this is like a cool sound that I have and that I can stick with. So that's why I've pinned them to the top, and that's why I've gone in that direction.
When you said you made synths, what do you mean? Like you built like a Euro rack, you made some presets, you got some samples. What's your process on making the synths?
Yeah, like just fiddling around in Serum in Ableton, and yeah, just like messing around with it. Got some some really distorted like wubby type synths. I don't know how to describe it, but I've recorded it as an audio sample, and I was like, oh yeah, I might use this later. And then I learned more about like warping and cutting up samples and stuff like that, and I started using a lot of the stock like Ableton plugins for sound design, and yeah, like it just worked out really well in my favor.
One thing I notice about I guess like contemporary bass music is that they're using a technique that I think a lot of producers, I never really seen a lot of producers use in the earlier 2000s. And it's, kind of jamming with synths and then saving it in their sample folder. You know, usually people go piano roll and that's it. And they never think to just kind of have like a synth jam session and then save the output of that to be used later. And it's a good technique, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Because then, like, you can like use that sound later, and like I said, you know, stretch it, warp it, like play with it, you know, make the sample 1,000 BPM and get some like really weird, like glitchy, staticky stuff. But then it's all useful if you know how to use it.
Yeah. Right now, you're located in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, just like about an hour away from Sydney, but yeah, it's easy to tell people. Sydney.
Are you playing a lot of live shows there, or what's the scene like?
Well, right now, it's not great because of the
pandemic. I almost forgot, man. Yeah, I've been asking everybody what they're doing. I'll ask you that after, but
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, like it was popping pretty well before all this happened, but now it's I know, like the big club in Sydney, Chinese Laundry, it's gone live on Twitch, and it started streaming like Friday nights and Saturday nights. I haven't played since last year, actually, but yeah, it was just like a lot of like warm up sets, and that's when I only had one or two songs out. So now it's I've built on that, and I've really used quarantine to my advantage to do that.
Yeah, what are you doing with your quarantine? Are you producing a lot of songs, or are you just playing Animal Crossing, or what's that like for you right now?
I was dead set just about to say those exact two things. Okay. Like, maybe I've got like a stack of music ready to go, and and Animal Crossing, man. Like,
fuck Bunny Day. Fuck Bunny Day. I'm glad that shit's over. Fuck Bunny Day.
Oh, that bunny was fucking scary, man. Like, I remember seeing him the first time, like, that's not normal.
You know, if you walk behind him and you try to take a picture, he freaks out because it's like a zipper.
Yeah. Like, I watched like this whole like YouTube theory on it. Like, what's under the suit? Is it like someone that we know, or is it actually like a spirit or something like that? And I was like, no, I don't need to think about that. Like, yeah, I'd rather just enjoy the Easter Bunny as it is.
Have you thought of doing any K.K Slider flips?
Oh, actually, yeah, I've done.
It'd be really hot right now if you put them out, you know?
Yeah, no, I like, just as a meme, I've done a K.K Slider version of Lose Control by Medusa, Becky Hill and Good Boys, and I also did one of Rushing Back by Flume and Vera Blue. Yeah, just for... Oh, sorry.
No. You could get like the sound font of K.K Slider somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, awesome.
I'll have to show you these after.
Yeah, send them so we can put them in the links, because people are going to want to hear it.
It's so dumb, but so good.
Yeah. Do you find you're more creative in quarantine, or do you find you're kind of getting depressed because you can't go outside or whatever?
Like, I don't know. I feel pretty lucky. Like, perk of not living, really close to Sydney is like in a suburban area is I can go for walks and stuff like without worrying, and like the shops aren't too far, so like if I need to get out and clear my head, there are some times where I'm just like, what am I doing with all this music, what am I like a good way to describe it is depressed, like what's the point, like and then I just go outside for a bit, refresh myself, and I come back inside, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna finish that track.
Because you're if you don't want to talk about this, let me know. Because you're studying right now, right?
I'm on break. I've taken some time off from uni.
Yeah, because you're talking about like being like, oh, what's with the point of making all this music? And I remember I was at that point one time in my life.
Yeah,
and I just kind of was like, it's so stupid and kind of childish, like getting older and like, what's the point? But I think at some point you realize it's just like kind of a way of expressing yourself. You make like cool remixes that you want to hear that no one else is going to make.
Yeah. No, like I completely agree. There's a point where like, it's like at the moment it's a hobby, but you don't care. Like you still come back to it and put love and time and money into it, because that's what you love to do,
Yeah. And when you're making stuff for yourself, for your own pleasure, then you just don't give a fuck, and then you'll make the craziest stuff. And then for some reason it just becomes more, it just becomes better.
Yeah, no, and like when I really don't give a fuck, like sometimes I'll sit down and like look up, ukulele tabs and just like play my favorite songs on ukulele and stuff, just to keep the creativity like going in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your history, how you got to producing. When you were a kid, were you into music, or was it just something that kind of came later in life?
Yeah, no, roughly when I started high school, which in Australia is most people start when they're 12 years old.
Okay.
Towards the end of that year, I sort of discovered like Zomboy and Excision, like, and all that heavy dubstep, and like I wasn't like the cool kid at school or anything like that, and that was sort of just a getaway for me. And I thought, oh yeah, like maybe I could do that, you know. And
the cool kids in school never are cool when they graduate. They're the people that hang on and they're 40 years old on Facebook talking about high school shit. It's just like, come on, guy.
I know. I completely feel that, but like, I don't know. Everyone sort of changes in their own way.
Yeah.
Like I've come like full circle in a way that I never imagined that I would. Yeah. And
sorry, I interrupted your train of thought. You were in high school and you were listening to Excision and Zomboy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And like, I mean, you know, when what's his name, Skrillex, like, he came onto with Bangarang. That's it. Yeah, it was like that was like huge here. You know, it was playing at every high school disco. Everyone had it on there. What do we even have?
iPods.
iPods. Yeah. I was like,
Nano.
What? yeah, that's it. iPod Touch, and that's just what we were bumping, and bit by bit, I got better and better. I you know, and at some point I discovered Flume, and I was like, this is a whole different thing. But it's, in a way, I still kind of found his stuff like chill but heavy. It was like it was a different take, you know, and yeah, like I followed that route and incorporated all those different things to get to like a point when I was about 18, 19, where I was like starting to get comfortable in my production, and bit by bit, I just built over time, and nothing like happens overnight. It took me a while to realize.
Yeah, for sure. You know, but you have to start. That's the most important thing.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's probably the biggest hurdle. It's like telling yourself that, come on, I can do this.
Yeah, I find a lot of new producers, they'll have like a half-finished song and they go, oh, it sucks, and then they just stop, and it's like, of course it sucks. It's the first time you've ever made a fucking song. You're using a DAW that 30 years ago would have been from another planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's so high tech, and people are so hard on themselves because they don't know how to use a wavetable or Massive or whatever. And it's like, bro, chill. You know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and. Like I said, once you get over that hurdle, it's like, oh, but what if I put this, what if I put this effect on this synth or something like that, you know, or what if I added a piano to this bit, and bit by bit you build, and that's how you make your first sort of track that you start to feel happy with. Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of experimentations. It sounds like you experiment a lot with, you know, you're talking about the ukulele, and then with Serum. Do you find yourself listening to like a lot of experimental music, like Aphex Twin or anything like that, or?
I find actually, in terms of experimental, probably not really. I find myself listening to less and less EDM though, which I kind of find refreshing.
Yeah.
I listen to more pop and like indie type stuff. Like I'm a sucker for indie music just because like there's emotion in it, and it's cool to be able to add that to a heavy track, or to just something that has a very produced feeling to it instead of just like an acoustic sort of vibe.
Yeah. Or even just kind of to put you in the zone, and then you start working on a track, you know?
Yeah. Like there's certain, I guess you would call it like cadences, you know, how some melodies work. You think, oh, like I could draw inspiration from this and use this in a track. Because if you have a heavy drop, like that's great, but the track is 100 times better if you've also got like a catchy melody that leads into the drop.
Yeah, for sure. The drop's important, but you need a good vibe to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't vibe to the song, no one's going to listen to it. People listen to music for vibing. You know, people party to drops, right? Yeah,
that's it. Like some songs just aren't meant to be streamed, but they're meant to be played out, and that's cool, you know?
Yeah. So when you started producing, you said you were listening to a lot of music, but you weren't playing any music. How did you even start? Like, did you just Google it, like how to make EDM, or what did you do?
Yeah. I mean, that's how everyone starts, eh? Like, it was after a couple of months I realized that I had to learn an instrument of some kind to sort of get music theory down pat. And I went with piano, which was really, really helpful to learn. Yeah. To learn scales and chords and just like staying in key. Because the first song I ever made, I remember, was just like on Fruity Loops. It was like a bunch of like random notes. I think it was in 3/4 timing because I didn't even know what time signature meant. But then, like I Googled how to make sounds of massive and how to, I started Googling sample packs. Like I remember watching a video. It's like, you need to have good samples. I'm like, oh, what are those? And like that's just how I got more and more into it. And like that, definitely I feel like that's important to have a good sample library, or like just certain sounds that you can always rely on.
What are your favorite sample packs or sound libraries? Do you go for sample packs, or do you go for like samples of like famous machines like a 909 or 808 or whatever?
No, I go more for like sample packs. I got given a drum and bass pack, which just like I've actually been using it for like even trap and dubstep, just because the drums in there are so good. But like everything else, I don't really vibe with. So like, but yeah, and but as far as samples go, I have two go-tos. That I've been using them in every track, and it's actually my hi-hats. Like my open hi-hat is just white noise, and it just, for me, like it just works, you know.
White noise hi-hat.
Yeah.
Sounds like the name of a band.
It does. Pop group.
Yeah. So you're using mostly this one sample pack to make these songs. It's crazy because I listen to a lot of like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Eat Brain podcasts, and it's like a lot of neurofunk, and it's like Joe Ford and like all those like dark drum and bass guys, neurofunk drum and bass. Right. And your songs are really good. And I'm surprised that you're keeping it, you know, I guess relatively simplistic, you know? And it just goes to show that you don't need a bunch of complicated crap to make a good sounding song, you know?
That's it. Like, you mentioned Hate or Glory, and that's just, you know, I picked some drums that I liked, a bit of EQ on them, some compression, and then I chopped up the original Hate or Glory, you know, just to give it that, like you said, that dark newer vibe, because that's, sometimes I just listen to a song, I'm like, oh yeah, that can be edited to drum and bass, and like you said, it's keeping it simplistic. some things can just be sped up and chopped accordingly, and it's something completely different.
There's something I noticed about your SoundCloud. You have remixes and then you have edits, but when you listen to the edits, for me, I consider them a remix. Like going back to Hater Glory doesn't sound anything like the original one. Like the sound is there, but they're two different songs in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Like I don't know. I consider more my remixes that if I'm using more of my own sounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas this was like more of just a chopping up and sort of making it to how I envisioned it in a drum and bass form, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also noticed that you had for your album art, you've been using like CDs, like a CD jewel cases and stuff like that. What can you go into detail about that?
Yeah, one of my good friends, we started actually a graphic design thing together.
Oh, cool.
And before that happened, he came over and he gave me like a bunch of graphic assets, and there was like a CD case mock-up, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I see a lot of rhythm and dubstep artists using it, and I was like, oh, I could incorporate that. The main sort of thing with my artworks is I've been incorporating like it's like this like sort of stripy pattern that I made. Yeah, and now I've been combining that with, like you said, the CD case, which is really high quality mock-up, and combining that to give that sort of like 3D realistic look. And it's just, I feel like the aesthetic of the artwork sort of has to fit the song.
Is it important for an artist to represent themselves visually now, do you find? Because I notice a lot of artists in the past year or two, I think yourself included, correct me if I'm wrong, they'll have like a video saying like, oh, the new song's coming out on Friday or Saturday or whatever. Do you think that's like sort of the future of like online promotion, like having these sneak peeks before your song drops?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I could never decide like whether to put the sneak peek a week, like, or however long you decide to promote it before, or to drop it with the song. So then, like, if they would like to hear more, to click on the video. But yeah, I agree completely that that those like little clips and moving animations, or even like there's some things that are just like glitchy artworks and stuff like that I've seen. That's definitely like the future, and it's slowly becoming the normal thing. And there's a whole market business in making those sort of things for artists.
So there's there's companies that do that for artists.
Yeah, or like companies and just like individual graphic designers and stuff like that, because you need it. If you don't represent your song artistically, as you said,
visually,
visually, it won't reach the audience. They need something to see the song with, or like something bright and flashy to grab their attention.
Yeah, I was doing an interview yesterday with another Australian producer from Sydney yesterday, Pretense. And,
Ben, right?
Oh, yeah. And he was saying that, people are lazy. You have to have the visuals or else your song might not get played. You have to have something to catch their eye.
Definitely. Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
That's interesting. I didn't really know that there was like companies that were doing that for artists. I'll have to look into that for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, as far as graphic design goes, I remember seeing a long time ago, someone said, might have been actually Jaws. Jaws said on Twitter or something like that. It's like, to be a successful DJ these days, or like an artist, you need to, know how to market. You need to know how to do graphic design. You need to know how to do video editing on top of DJing and producing. It's a big job.
Yeah. What would you give for advice to a new producer about marketing their music online?
Definitely invest in promotion. I would suggest starting on SoundCloud with like remixes and stuff like that, because you can always grab people's attention with that. If it's something that they already know, definitely it will. It's more useful to listen to something, to like their own rendition of it.
Yeah.
And and as for promoting it, I personally wouldn't recommend tagging the artist. Depending, like some artists, if you're remixing someone smaller, then it's a good thing to tag them, because then they might see it and be like, oh, no way, and then you get like a follow from someone who you feel kind of you like their music because you're remixing it, and like they might promote you a little bit and bring some traffic to your thing. Like there was a producer. It got taken down, but it was a remix of Without Me by Halsey, but it was like the Millennium version. I did it with my mate Hardy, and he, like, there's this guy that found Hardy because of the remix. His name is She Was Silver, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did like a remix for Millennium. I don't know if he tagged him in it or anything like that, but it was just like just putting it out, putting like a little bit of money into promo. I feel like that's very important. And Millennium ended up finding it and following him and like reposting it and everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like that's huge. And that actually happened with my Weathen remix, the All in My Head. I didn't tag him in anything. I put in the thing like follow Weathen on SoundCloud, and then like a couple of days after I put it up, I saw like that he downloaded it and followed me and everything. I was like, holy shit, like that's just pure luck.
Yeah. I find it's so hard now to get the attention of people because there's just so much shit going on. People are, there's Animal Crossing, Netflix, you name it. And to get someone to listen to your song for 3 minutes, it's a bit of a chore, Yeah,
definitely. And then like, everyone's tweeting at each other or like tagging on Instagram, like, look at me, listen to mine,
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to stand out.
Let's switch gears a little bit here. What software are you using? Like, what do you have for gear?
I use Ableton. Like, I'm on Ableton 10 suite. As far as software, like plugins, I have Serum, massive. Can't go wrong with those. I was using like a volume shaper, like for sidechain, but actually I got a really cool sort of like Ableton rack to do my sidechain now.
Okay.
And like that I feel like that's really important on my tunes. What else do I use for software? Honestly, like I don't find myself using that much. Like you really, all you need is a laptop, Ableton, like couple of sample packs, one synth that you're familiar with. For me, like I've gotten quite familiar with Serum. That's another one. Definitely get familiar with Operator on Ableton.
Operator.
Like like that's slowly becoming the standard, and it's just a stock synth, but like you say, like you were talking about before, you have lots of wavetable options and everything. Like it's It's really good. Yeah, you can get some crazy sounding stuff out of that. Yeah, I just like to keep it simple so I can do it wherever.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of speechless a little bit because, like I said, your songs are really good, and
Thank you.
and like I know guys that have $20,000 worth of gear. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. Like you and some other people we're interviewing are proving that you don't need like gear anymore. You could just have your laptop, like a last gen laptop, and you can make the most awesome songs ever.
Yeah, no, like I remember seeing a picture of, I think it was Michael Bibby, and he was just sitting on like a beach somewhere, and he had like a JBL speaker and his laptop, and he was like putting on like, you know, just working on his track there. And like, that's it sometimes, you know, I'll just connect a Bluetooth speaker, you know, and take it wherever and just work.
Yeah. What do you think makes a song catchy?
Probably something that like makes it memorable, you know, something that people will come back to. It depends on the type of song. Like, sometimes it is like it's the drop, you know. You can like the drop has a good melody, and you can sing the melody, and that will, you know, bring the person back and, like you said, make it catchy. Other times it might be, you know, just like the main melody of the song, but the drop itself is not too memorable, or, you know, it doesn't even have to have a drop. But yeah, like I'd say like having a really specific melody, something that you know, will be like a earworm. It's probably the best way to describe it. Like, you just can't get it out of your head.
Yeah,
you find yourself whistling it. You know, if you find yourself whistling your own melodies that you're making, that's a good sign.
Yeah. How do you maintain your fan base? Do you like contact them? Do you do like any type of like, I don't know, like giveaways or anything like that, or do you just kind of release and then let the chips fall where they do?
Yeah, no, you know, I haven't. Most of my interaction has been through Instagram, which is cool. You know, like just replying to stories, people mentioning me in stories and stuff like that. And the other half, like, no, I don't even know if I'd call it my fan base, because like a lot of the people that are listening to my stuff are just my friends, you know, my everyday friends, and, you know, we're talking to each other on Facebook. As far as like for people who I don't have that personal relationship with, you know, I'll do what you say. Yeah, just put it up, let the chips fall on social media, and yeah, and then people one by one, you know, get in contact with me. But I just love to talk and meet new people. So like it ends up a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of things end up as a collaboration, or, you know, I do you a favor if you do me a favor, or like reposting, whatever. Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think, cause we've done a few interviews since quarantine, and there's a lot of guys that have been saying that one of the hardest things about the quarantine is not being able to network in person anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. You say I wasn't, like, I live around the corner from a club here, and I live on this part near Sydney called the Central Coast, in Australia. I live around the corner from a club, and like we get some pretty big acts coming through. Like they were meant to have Getter playing not too long ago, but that got cancelled because of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I I couldn't agree more. Like, it sucks not being able to go out and meet those sort of people, because like sometimes you end up just meeting people at a show,
and that's how you build your brand, I guess. Like you're saying, like
definitely,
and meeting people and
exchanging Facebook details or Instagram. I know. Everyone's always telling me, like, you should use your Twitter more and stuff, because like that's the thing in the US. Yeah, like everyone's on Twitter.
Yeah. Is it not a big thing in Australia? I thought, because my friend lives in Melbourne, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but and he sends me Twitter stuff all the time.
I mean, it depends on like. So it depends on the people around you, you know?
Yeah. It's video game shit, though, not really music. But
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I have it connected for my video games.
Okay, yeah. I guess we're getting close to the end of the interview. I appreciate your time, Marco. Yeah. But I have a couple more questions I want to ask. Can you give us some sound design tips?
Sound design, yeah, definitely. Resampling is my big one. You know, find a sound, make like even just a basic sound. Just mess around with the wavetables in Serum, see what you can make, and then record it, and then use the Ableton warping functions, like when you open up the sample later on, and stretch it. Change the warping mode, play around with the envelope, the formats, the grain size, everything, and chop it up and everything, and it will just get some crazy stuff. Also in sound design, I find automation really important. You can take like a really long sort of sustained bass note, but then you add like a bandpass filter onto it, and then all of a sudden you get this like neuro sounding like wong 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 sound in it.
Yeah,
I was literally just doing that this morning. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, probably the two biggest ones would definitely be resampling and automation.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of your future songs. What do you have coming up over the horizon, as they say?
Yeah. So I got, not sure if it's going to be on Friday or next Tuesday, but I have been planning to drop a remix of one of the new Run the Jewels songs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a house remix, so different from all the D&B that I've been putting out. But yeah, as soon as I heard the bass line, I was like, I need it. Yeah, like I heard the song immediately. And yeah, so like I'm planning to include like a little donation link with that to the NAACP for all the protests and stuff, because that was included with the original album.
Okay.
And for anyone who donates and sends me a screenshot, I'll send them a couple of unreleased tunes.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. And then coming into July, because I've already released a song for June, which was my collaboration with Bomb Players. I'm keeping the traction of one song a month. I feel like that's a good amount to have. So coming up onto July, I have a remix of Mr. Happy by DJ Hazard and D-Minds. Classic drum and bass tune, and I put like a heavier spin on it.
Cool.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you mentioned one song a month, and Pretense said the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think albums are dead? Do you think that's kind of like an old dude thing, like listening to an album, or?
Yeah, like I would much prefer to put out singles or like listen to a single, because that you market it right, promote it right, you just got yourself that's going to rack up streams. It's going to grab attention until the next single drops. I feel like EPs are a good sort of middle ground. If you have a body of work that you'd like to put out, 3 or 4 tracks that are related or whatever. Also collaborative EPs that sort of happen sometimes, and say, oh, well, instead of doing 3 separate collabs, why not just put out the EP together? But as far as albums go, that's something you'd only really like. I feel like it's only something that you do when you just collected that many songs and you say, yep, this is sort of like my what's the word? Like the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. You're telling me this, and I'm kind of reshaping my own idea of what I should be doing. I come from an album. I come from an album era, and for me, I'm thinking like it's got to be 60 minutes long, and there's going to be all these interludes and all this shit that blends into each other. Yeah. But it seems like so much work for an audience that's not a thing anymore, like pre-internet, there was nothing to do. You'd listen to your Metallica CD front to back 10 times a day, but now people don't do that anymore,
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say internet as well, because then that same Metallica CD, you can take the 2 or 3
singles,
sort of like hit songs. Yeah.
Enter Sandman.
Yep, yeah, Enter Sandman, what else? Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Like whatever are your favorites, chuck them on. Yeah, when the internet all started, chuck them on your iPod and you just listen to those 3 songs in repeat instead of giving the whole 60 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, you're making me feel old, man. Anyways.
Sorry, bro.
No, it's all right. Marco, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Before we go, do you want to give us your links so that people that are listening can check it out? I'm sure they're going to want to check some of your stuff out.
Yeah. Do I just send it over?
No, I mean, like you could say it on the interview now and then send it over and I'll add it to the thing.
Oh, I mean...
Tell them where to go. Tell them where to go, because the interview's not over yet. Yeah.
Well, no, they're all on private right now, and I haven't exported the Flume one yet.
Okay.
It's just sitting on my laptop.
What's your SoundCloud address?
SoundCloud.com / is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Custome. Yeah, with an E at the end.
Excellent. Cool. So we'll throw those in the show notes so people could check those out. All right. Thanks a lot, Marco. Totally appreciate it.
Thank you, William.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay. Take care.
Yeah, you too.